What is going on YouTube? Welcome to A Therapeutic Edge. Now, today on the table in front of us is the Spyderco Amalgam, and I am super happy to have this knife on the channel. Now, this is not my amalgam. No, this belongs to someone else, and we'll get to that in a second. You see, a week or so ago, I went to the Bay Area Knife Collectors Association meeting down in San Jose, and there were some folks there that were really interesting to meet. One of them was Brian Lai, the designer of the amalgam. That was exceptionally cool. He and I got to talking about his work and other Spydercos in general. Excuse me. And he asked me the question that I was hoping he wouldn't, which was, hey, have you had an amalgam? And I had to say no. I just haven't had a chance to get one in hand. And I'm sad about that now that I've had one, because now I'm going to have to go get one. Oh, yes, I am. So Brian is a super, super nice guy, and that matters. We had a really good long conversation about what he was thinking when he did this, about Spyderco in general, about knives. It was awesome getting a chance to meet him. It was really very nice. And towards the end, he says, well, I've seen some of your stuff, and I was wondering if you'd like a chance to review an amalgam. And I said, well, man, yeah, I'd love to. I don't know when I'm going to get the opportunity to, though. And he said, here, take mine. Now, that was awesome. And then he said the following: be honest. Tell me what you really think. You've got big hands. It's a big knife. You tell me what you think of it, because I'm dying to hear what you have to say. So we're going to be very honest. In the interest of his kindness, I will repay that kindness by being, well, no, more honest than I normally am, but I'm not going to do this knife any favors just because it happened to come from the designer. The nice thing is, I'm not going to have to. I've been pocketing this thing on and off for a week, and I have sort of fallen for it as a big knife from Spyderco. It is very, very good. Now, it has a couple of issues that, look, I'm not going to be the first person to bring them up, but I am going to share them because they are things I've noticed. So let's start with the three things that I wish were different about this, and then we'll get on to the stuff that I love. Okay. First, I don't like standard Spyderco pocket clips, and I particularly don't like them on a knife that is this big. This is a chunk of knife. Closed, we are looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a little bit inches in length. This is a big knife. And that means that when their standard Spyderco pocket clip is dropped on this thing, you've got almost an inch of knife sticking out of your pocket. Now, some people don't care about that stuff, but you guys know from watching my channel that I do, which means I'd have to go out and spend another $30 on a deep carry clip for this. It's worth it. But I would like it if Spyderco had their own. I don't feel like that's something that I should have to do with every Spyderco that I choose to keep. That's annoyance number one. Annoyance number two. As you can see, this is a 3.5-inch cutting surface on a 4-inch blade of S30V. It is beautiful, and it's got this choil. Now, I love a good finger choil. I think it allows you to choke up on the knife. By way of example, this is my Reich 1902. You can see it also has a choil here. That choil, your finger digs in, your thumb comes forward, and you're all over that. It makes the knife really lock into your hand. That is a useful finger choil. I mean, we'll get there in a second. The amalgam has an almost finger choil. It's got 3.5 inches of cutting surface that leads into this sort of rolled out choil that, well, my finger, the big meaty finger that is mine, is awfully close to that cutting edge when I clamp down on that, and B, it's not deep enough. I mean, that's really the problem. If this was deeper, my finger would really lock in, and I would feel like there was a real, don't get me wrong, this is a comfortable position to hold this knife, but my finger fat is coming up over the edge, and I have heavy fingers, is coming up over the edge of that cutting surface, and that's not great. So here's my other minor complaint too. Either make the choil deeper so that my finger really locks in, or get rid of it entirely. I mean, how awesome would this be with 4 inches of cutting edge on that S30V blade? And I got to tell you, from back here, if that cutting surface came all the way up here to this edge, you could get your thumb out of the way and just do monster push cuts. It wouldn't cost you a thing in cutting performance. But as it stands, I don't use the choil, and I should be able to. Like, I do a little. I guess I can, if I'm cautious, I can put my finger this way and sort of push. But I don't use it for push cuts. I don't use it when I do this for fine work with draw cuts. I just don't. And that's a shame, because I love a good choil. So, Brian, there's some thoughts. Make the choil deeper or get rid of it entirely. Finally, there's the thing that other people have complained about. I won't be the first. This is a compression lock Spyderco, which is cool. It's also a flipper. And those two things don't work together very well, and I will show you how. When you activate the compression lock and the blade swing shut, the flipper runs into your finger if it's still on the compression lock. You have to move your finger for the close to complete. Now, I have read and listened to a lot of heavy complaints about that. It was my concern when I got the knife, but here's the thing. It isn't that big a deal. Yeah, it's annoying, and I think maybe given the really excellent functionality of the Spidey Flick on this knife, perhaps you could have left it without the flipper, or done the perhaps the lock style that you have on the Mannix on this instead, which would have allowed the flipper to work without issue. But really, once you figure out how to get your finger out of the way, and it's much easier for me to do it when I'm not on camera, of course, there, just like that. It's not a big deal. It does take a little practice, and maybe that was the complaint. People don't like knives that require a bit of practice. I love it in its own way. I think if you're going to make a knife that's interesting, just go for it, and I'll figure out how to use it. But that was a point of contention. So there you go, man. Those are my 3 complaints. The pocket clip is just standard Spyderco fare, and it's not really very good. I wish the choil was either bigger or gone, and of course, the same thing everybody else kind of mentioned in their complaints, which is that it is the compression lock and the flipper tab interfere with each other. Now, having said that, let's talk about what I love, because that is a much happier and better list. I love the shape, size, dimensions, and look of this knife. Absolutely. This is so my kind of knife. It is a giant chunk of flat ground S30V with marvelous flat and some great belly. It's thick enough that you feel like you can rely on it, but not so thick as to be bulky. It comes down to a really excellent tip. So it is stabby in its own way, but it's not threateningly stabby. It's just a beautiful blade shape. The handle ergos on this thing are stellar for my hand. When this thing is locked in, there is no play at all. It does not want to move. It is perfect for push cuts, and I have used it for that. It is perfect for draw cuts, and I tested it out on that too. This knife is just an excellent big knife. The action is superb once you figure out the little trick with your finger. And as I mentioned, you can Spidey flick it, you can flipper tab it, but you cannot shake it out. The detent is excellent. Now, he did mention that this had been detent tuned. I don't know how the standard ones are. I wanted that to be part of the video because it's something he mentioned. But in this case, this thing is just stellar. It is comfortable in the pocket clip aside, because it is narrow and very lightweight. These steel liners, which are buried inside the carbon fiber scales, have been milled out all along on both sides to allow for as much weight reduction as possible, and yet it does not feel at all compromised. It feels very, very sturdy and very strong. The compression lock is excellent. Once it engages, there is no wiggle, no rock, no issues at all. And I love as you can see, this is the Taichung factory from Taiwan. I love the way they do the grinds on their blades with these long grind lines that follow the length of the blade. I just think it's beautiful. I am not a Spyderco fanboy. I only have a couple of Spydercos. They're generally not my kind of knife. In my experience, they have too much handle and not enough blade. They all kind of look the same to me. I have a Mannix that I love, and I have a Mannix XL that I love, but that's pretty much it. And then there was this. I am going to have to get me one of these. Dang. All right, so let's do an overall length just for the fun of it. we are at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just a hair shy of 9 inches overall. This is a good-sized knife, and yet it is less than a ½ inch thick through the scales. I don't have my scale in front of me, but I can tell you it is not a heavy knife. And considering how much blade you get and how well done this is, for what you get, it is very light. And that is super nice. Well, so finally, what do I think? Well, Brian asked, so I'm going to tell him. I think that he designed one hell of a knife. I think that it is a fantastic EDC design. I think that it puts a lot of other Spydercos to shame in its sort of uniqueness and interest to design. I think that the textured carbon fiber on these scales is awesome. It's grippy and yet remains the beauty of carbon fiber. I love that it's open back design with just these barrel spacers. This is a great knife. That is my final analysis. This is a absolutely great knife, and I am so glad I got the opportunity to play with one, and a little bummed because now I'm going to have to go out and buy one. That's always the hard part, right? Anyway, that is the Spyderco Amalgam. This has been a Therapeutic Edge. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Feel free to like the video and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And if you're already a subscriber, well, thank you. It means the world to me. We'll see you next time, guys. Thanks for watching.